You are watching Live with Dr. Kimber. Come on in and have a seat at the table.
Evening to all of you. We are delighted to be here sharing with you tonight, live with Dr. Boise Kimber, taking a seat at the table. Share this uh, message, if you can, tonight as we talk to two of New Haven finest individuals who sit on the Board of Education for New Haven Public School. We have Dr. Tamiko Jackson, and now she's a real medical doctor, and one of the only Black females who are really active as a doctor in our community. And then we have board member Darnell Goldson with us also. And so we're delighted to have you two with us. And uh, I look up to both of you all. You all are very smart individuals, and you all are in the right place at the right time. Well, let's get into this. So we're talking about the reopening of the New Haven public school system. The New Haven public school system say that they have about 21,000 students. They have a new superintendent, Dr. Eileen Tracy. We're delighted that she was chosen for this position. She's been working with the school system over 35 years or more. So we're at the crossroads here. The Board of Ed gave out a 90-page document that would say that they are ready to go back to school. There is a lot of opposition in reference to them saying, the administration saying that they are ready to go back to school. We know that COVID-19 is still out there, and they want our kids to come back to school. But there are some major concerns that we have in reference to our kids coming back to school. Let me start out with Dr. Jackson. As I heard you on last evening, just asking simple questions that you did not really get an answer to. Tell me where you stand in reference to our children going back to school.
So I was asked this question on Monday, and I said I was going to wait until Tuesday to really give my opinion and give my input on what does it look like going back to school. And I can honestly say that, I'm really not sure, because I don't feel that all the answers were asked. They were pressed against the 90-page document. And it just seems like the state is driving the decision. And I'm not sure. And I can ask my colleague, I don't know. I'm not clear if the state is simply is directing, or if they're just giving guidance. And we haven't been really given that clarity yet. We have 21,000 students, 40 plus schools. I don't know how anyone outside of our Board of Education and our central office staff, we should be the only ones directing what happens in this district, because we're the ones that are on the ground knowing what's happening and what our risks are. I read in the newspaper yesterday that we had a local church hide COVID cases, and there were about 11 COVID cases in that church that were hidden. We don't know where these people went out into the community, and we don't know what their contact tracing is. I find that to be extremely disturbing. I feel that is a violation of the public trust, because we are in this together. And if people are going to be hiding cases, how can we open up the schools in confidence? So right now, I'm still on the fence. And I did state last night that I personally am going to distance learn my children. So I don't know where we are. I don't think that we're 100% clear in opening around the transportation and in the schools. So there's still a lot of questions.
Yeah. Darnell, where are you standing with this?
Well, I think that Dr. Jackson asked some very probing questions yesterday and didn't get a lot of answers. I followed up those questions to try to see if we could draw out some answers to those questions and didn't get them. I mean, yesterday we don't even know what day school's going to open. It's scheduled for
Well,
August
the news
31st.
quoted it.
But
The
it
news
be
quoted it.
right. It may
I
be
was
September.
surprised.
It may be September 3rd. The fact is that wasn't really a plan. It's more of a series of thoughts put together in a document. And this whole idea that there's three different versions: low risk, moderate risk, and high risk. That makes sense. But then there is nothing behind those options as to how we open, right? If we're low risk, how do we open? When do we open? When do we make that determination? If we're high, if we're moderate, same questions. When we're high, same questions. How does public transportation happen? That document had public transportation for moderate risk, didn't have public transportation for low risk, didn't have public transportation for high risk. So we don't know what the options are. We don't know what happens and we don't know what triggers high, moderate, low risk, high risk, or moderate risk. So at the end of the day, the only good part about that plan was that they had three different versions of what the risks are, but they don't have follow-up as to what we do if those risks are triggered. Now we go to school in 6 weeks, and we don't even know what opening day is. We don't know how transportation is going to work. We don't know. And I think the most probing question that came out last night, or comment that came out last night, and I challenge my board members: if you are not willing, if you do not think the schools are safe enough for you to enter, you should not be using our kids as canaries and sending them into the mine to figure out whether there's a risk there or not.
Listen, I talked with the Commissioner of Education. The Commissioner of Education said that there was 3 steps that they should take, and that they were waiting on New Haven platform in reference to how they were going to bring students back. And that documentation is supposed to be in by tomorrow, the 24th, which was Friday. That documentation is to be in, and so if they send a documentation in, and the State Board of Education accept the documentation, then they're saying that they can go to school. So my point is, and listening last night, there were board members who had attitudes in reference to the questions that was being asked about the safety of our kids. I talked to Dave Ciccarelli, who is president of the union there, and he and I had a conversation today. His teachers are really afraid to go back into the school. They want to talk about safety, and it does not seem in that 90-page document that a whole lot of safety tips was out there in reference to how we're going to handle our kids. I spoke to the superintendent, said, "My superintendent, are they going to be wearing masks?" The first time she said, "No, they're not going to be wearing masks." I said, "Are they going to be taking the temperature?" "No, we're not going to be doing that." "Are they going to be signing a document where the school system will not be liable if someone catches the corona 19? So those questions, and talking about safe distancing, and talking about busing, and talking about how we gonna feed our kids, and then they're saying, "Well, we're bringing grade 1 to 3." Don't they know that young people are catching COVID-19 now? They're catching this now.
And
And
can I
I
comment
believe,
on that?
yes.
So as far as young infection, now we do know, and I can tell you this, that when children contract COVID-19, that they usually do well. The concern is that when kids contract coronavirus, right? They go home and give it to their parents. When they go home and give it to their parents get sicker. That's the problem. We don't.
Mm.
So my fear, in that, did you read that article, Darnell, that I
Yeah.
sent?
Hmm.
The article stated that when, I'm sorry, my tripod broke. I'm waiting for a new one, so that's why it's moving around. When they found in 5,000 cases of children who contracted coronavirus, when their parents got symptoms before they got symptoms, they carried it home. And so their parents were infected and got symptoms. They had no idea their children were sick until the parents got sick. And we know what will happen to adults when they get sick. They can have a very hard course, and sometimes a lot of times fatal course. And we know that our district is full of Black and brown children, and we know the numbers behind infection in the Black and brown community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to really be looking at. So we have people in our community that are hiding cases. We don't know what's going on. And then children, we're worried about them contracting the coronavirus and then bringing it home to their homes. The adults will be the ones showing symptoms before we even find out that the kids are infected. That's the issue.
Dr. Kimber, there's no protections in that plan for anyone. Um, um, they, we know that these kids are going to be getting on these buses at these bus stops. They're not being monitored, so they're
Well, I
touching
thought the
each
school
other.
system paid monitors. To,
Some buses have monitors, not all the buses have monitors. These kids are, and when they're at the bus stop, there are no monitors. So they're going to be playing around, tussling around at the bus stop. Then they're getting on the bus and they're going to be moving and touching and doing whatever they do when they get on the bus. Then they get off the bus, they're going to do the same thing. And then at the end of the day, they're doing the same thing. And there's, and the, they're counting on, in this plan, in this document, they suggested that the parents should take the kids'
I
temperatures in
think
the
this is
morning.
better.
They suggested that the parents should take the kids' temperatures in the morning. So they're not even monitoring whether these kids are coming into the school with temperatures. They don't have any testing set up. They don't have any protocols. I didn't see any protocols for if a child is identified as being sick. How do you protect those teachers when you have 15, 20 kids in the classroom and two of them are coughing? Or what? Or they're not even showing symptoms,
And kids
but they
cough all the time.
but they're still touching the teacher. They're still touching services. When we asked who was going to, and Dr. Jackson, to her credit, asked this question at the very beginning: who's going to be cleaning those classrooms throughout the day? They didn't have an answer until the superintendent said, "Well, the teachers will." And then later on in the meeting, when we told her how is that possible for the teachers to be cleaning classrooms while they're doing all their work and keeping these kids separated, she says, "Oh well, I just kind of threw that out there. It's not in the plan." So they don't even have a plan on how to clean the classrooms during the day when those kids are in those classrooms. And some of these classrooms are being used by 2 or 3 teachers, so they're switching around. And there's no plan on how they manage that. It's not a
well,
plan. I mean, you can
well,
call it what you want to call it, but it's not a plan.
Pepe Barbarato said last night that the classes would be cleaned in the evening after everybody is gone. But he said
Yeah,
that they would be dealing with the bathrooms and making sure that there's tissue and soap in the
yeah,
bathroom. What I
yeah.
found out
That's their
last night,
jobs. It's
yeah.
custodians.
Well, what I found out last night was that there is not a clear and precise um, plan here. Mind you, it's a 90-page plan. Want to applaud them for at least trying to put a plan out, but the plan has too many holes in it, and
Dr.
our
Kimber,
kids, yes,
Dr. Kimber, it's not even with this cleaning that they're doing. They're spraying their buses with some kind of special thing. They're spraying the schools with some kind of special thing. They're spraying the bathrooms with something different. All of these chemicals, these young people are being exposed to in a closed system, in a closed school environment where there's not much circulation. We don't even know what the long-term effects are going to be on these children with all these chemicals. It may be worse than corona in the end of the day. We may find 5 years. We may find 5 years from now that these kids are being asthmatic and all other stuff because of these chemicals. I don't know. Nobody else knows because all of these miracle chemicals came out during this corona thing so that these people could make a whole bunch of money. And our kids again are canaries in a mine. They are being experimented on, and I think it's unfair. And again, I will repeat this again, and I'll keep repeating it. If a board member is not willing to go into the school themselves, they don't feel the school is safe enough for them to go into, they should not be sending our students and our teachers into those schools.
I heard one board member say that last night that he was not going into any of the schools. There will not be any board meetings in any of the schools. But you want to send the kids and teachers and paraprofessionals into an unsafe environment. I think what should have happened, that this system should have really put together a real team of doctors, professional people to look at how we go back and is it safe to go back into the classroom. I heard nothing about them talking with doctors. I heard nothing about them talking to social workers. I heard none of that on last evening. All I heard, we ready to go back into school. So my point is, you're ready to go back into school, and being ready to go back into school. It sounds to me like this is about money.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about, but I can tell you, I don't feel that it's about children's safety. That's certainly, I don't feel it's about children's safety.
I think it's about, Lamont keeps saying people have to go back to work. That's what I think. That's one of the things, and I've said that before.
That's money. That's money. That's money.
That's true. That's true. The governor keeps saying, but you're right. You're right. The governor keeps saying people have to go back to work, but we aren't ready to have 100% attendance in school. So if you're not ready to have 100% attendance, then are you truly ready to have people back in the buildings? That's kind of like the bottom line.
Why would we give students and parents the option not to go to school? We give board members the option not to attend, not to go to schools. Why would we not give the same option to the teachers and the paraprofessionals and so on in school? Why would we give them the same option?
Did you read the article?
It's almost like double jeopardy.
Which article?
Double jeopardy to me. It's okay for the kids to go, but it is not okay for board members to go. I heard the mayor say last night that his 2 kids was going to go to school, and then he said, well, we might not be in school, but for 2 weeks and we have to close down.
No. What he said was we have to be willing to react quickly if the circumstances change. So if we send kids to school and we find out that there's an outbreak or there's an increase in cases, then we should be ready to take them out of the schools and do distant learning. That's what he said. To his credit, he said he's willing to send his kids to the schools.
Yeah.
So I will give him credit. To Dr. Jackson's credit, she said, I'm not sending my kids to school if I'm not attending schools. That's fair on her. What's unfair is for a board member to say, we're sending our kids, we're going to make you send your kids to schools, and I'm not going to attend the school because it's not safe for me. And that's what a board member said last night.
Well, that was not fair at all. Let me ask you this. So how are you going to give out lunches? What's going to happen there?
What I interpreted from that, because there was a lot of interpretation on my part, I can't speak for everyone else. I feel like they're gonna do, and Darnell could chime in, that they're kind of gonna do kind of what they're doing for lunch for the summer. Kind of have you can come during a certain time to pick up your child's breakfast and lunch. Did you get that, Darnell?
I sort of heard that if your child is distant learning, there will be an opportunity for you to come in and pick up their lunches. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask.
They and again, that's about money. If they don't give those
I
lunches
keep
out,
saying it.
they lose money on those lunches.
Yes,
We're
yes.
you know we're in a $2 million deficit in our food program based on the fact that we didn't give out 21,000. We didn't give out meals to 21,000 students over that last 3 months, 4
Yeah,
months.
but I really think that you all need to do better about feeding these kids. Those lunches there, and I've been I do a little volunteer work in the district. Those lunches, it's despicable to me.
I know I've had them.
They
They're
are.
not good. They're not good at all.
But you
I'm
know what
surprised
they
people
do?
actually come and get them.
I was
Yeah.
told, and I know this is going off subject, but quickly, I've been to a couple of food service meetings when Darnell was president. And when you ask about, like, the validity of the lunches being so horrible, it said, oh, that's what they say. They have to be like that because, like, we have to have milk. Like, milk, we know now that milk, you no longer have to have milk after 12 months of age. And you know that milk really has nothing for you but fat and vitamin D, not much.
Oh, I
You can
better
get
stop
that sort of
drinking
milk.
cornflakes.
Milk is not good for you. It's for baby cows, right? And she said, but we were told it doesn't matter. Whoever the FDA, whoever is over, the USDA is over the meals. You have to give milk. You can't give bottled water. You have to give milk. So
So listen,
It's about the money. It's about the money.
I keep
It's about the
saying
money.
it's about the
Yeah.
money. Listen, so I'm hearing last night, Mr. Penn talk about the budget, and look like it would be a $13 million expense budget that's coming up. But listen, in talking to the state commissioner and his people the other day, 8.5 or $6 million will come from the state. That's number one.
That's already come.
All right.
That's from the
is that
feds.
from the CARES Act?
That's from the feds. Yeah, that's the
From
care.
the CARES. That's from the
Yeah.
CARES
So
Act.
we have 8.5 million of that.
That went through the state to us.
Right. Then the state says that they sent another 2.6 million in alliance.
Additional alliance money.
Additional alliance money. Then they said they sent a ton of money for after school programs.
I don't know about that.
And looking at all of the schools that are in this bubble for after school, it's probably only 2 or 3. It's about 15 schools, but most of the schools are Hispanics where the after school program is going. From what I read, I could be wrong, but
Or what?
Most of the after school programs are in the Hispanic community. I've got a list of them. If I can pull it up, I have a list of them that I was very much concerned about. And then they said that New Haven is an opportunity zone where whatever New Haven wants or need, they would try to get it to New Haven. So let's talk about the budget here, because all
we
of
didn't have
this
anything on after
back
school
to
yesterday.
money, y'all. What do you say?
We didn't talk about after school yesterday.
I know you didn't, but I've been doing some research on it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. That's not it. But talk to me about the money though.
Look, they're hiding the money. We learned a couple of months ago that we got a $2 million deficit in the food program. We haven't heard a peep about that since. We had a $8 or $9 million deficit at the end of the year. We did some magic. We waved our hands. We took a couple of votes, and that deficit disappeared.
How did a deficit disappear like that?
Because we just said it didn't exist anymore. That's basically the vote that we took, that it didn't exist anymore. We said we were going to defund this and that and that. We can't do it. We said we're going to save $1.5 million in school busing. We're not going to save. As a matter of fact, we're going to pay more in school busing. So there's no way.
Busing is going to be crazy.
Right. So
we're going to spend a lot more money on busing because of these precautions.
Now, not only does the old deficit still exist, but or at least part of that, at least $2 million of that old deficit still exists. We're now looking at $13 million deficit based on all of these new costs, and they didn't even factor in all the new costs yet. So 13 is conservative. So that 8.5 doesn't cover that, and they don't even talk about the 2 million in the food distribution deficit that we have, and we're going to continue to have that. If kids are only coming to school 2-3 days a week, we're still going to have a deficit. That deficit is going to grow, and they don't want to talk about it. And they won't talk about it.
So, what's the plan here?
I think for Dr. Jackson and I, the plan is to continue to question these documents that they put in front of us, to continue to question the wisdom of trying to open school on August 31st or September 3rd, whatever the date is, and to perhaps look at, for me, after last night, I am more. I think we should be planning for a soft opening with no kids coming to school at this point, and just doing distant learning for the first couple of months until we figure it out. That's the direction I think we should go in.
Even the colleges are recommending.
What's that?
Recommending. Quite a few colleges are recommending. If you would rather you take online courses, because they don't want that many people on campuses. They're sending everybody home at Thanksgiving. They're not going to come back. They're not going to bring them back in January, because they're going to be bringing them back from so many different places. It'll be too much of a risk. Like the college year is going to be like, what, 2.5 months, if that?
Yeah. I know. I'm bringing my daughter to college August 6th, and they've already moved it up, so they start early. They're going to end just before Thanksgiving. They're not going back until the end of January.
So they're going back in January?
For my daughter's school, some schools are not. And she just learned, and they cut the semester into halves. So the first semester, she's taking 2 classes. The second half of the first semester, she's taking 2 classes. And one of those classes she just learned yesterday is now moving to online. So,
listen,
it's very fluid.
So listen, Yale is going online a great deal. So everybody, here's my point. The New Haven Public School have never expected to go virtual or remote. They are caught now. And now they got to figure out, how do we get this? How do we get kids computers, laptops, iPads? And I'm sure that they've gotten some of them out there. But they're saying, how do we get it? How do we get them into this learning mode where they don't have to come to school? Now they have been
wasting months. They should have been planning on how to do remote learning instead of trying to figure out what the governor is going to tell them to do, and these hybrid plans things. I mean, their ideal of solving the internet access of deficit in our communities is by putting antennas on their school buildings, which is all fine and well. It may work, but
so what is that? Do you know
what is going to?
That?
Yeah, I kind of understood it. They're gonna try to develop a net of antennas that people can access internet for free from, right? It's probably not going to be that powerful, and it certainly is not ready to be put up yet. I mean, I don't think it could be ready in 6 weeks. You're talking about setting up a lot of infrastructure.
But why?
But I understand
we heard of that. Why, that was the first time I heard of that.
Yes, that's the first time I heard it.
That big, it takes time for one, and I think 6 weeks out was kind of like, really? I'm just hearing about that.
Yeah,
What is it?
I heard that Frontier was supposed to be giving free internet service to New Hallville.
But it's crap. They're hotspots.
It's hotspots, It's hotspots. It was temporary. People didn't know
It's
how
crap.
to sign
It was
into it.
it was Xfinity too.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, catch a hotspot. Those things are
So
unsecured.
how are you all going to teach my black kids?
So the one thing that I'm looking for that I still have questions about is that they were supposedly doing. Well, let me back up. Do you remember my question when I asked, was it required, and what was the percentage of teaching staff that participated in the professional development?
Right.
It was very important for me to know the answers to that, because that I think was geared towards, getting everybody ramped up and better versed in, what we're doing now,
You didn't get a
virtual,
real answer.
distance, whatever. What we found out was that there was only 2 or 3 in each building, and then that they were going to have the video to watch. Now, I found that concerning because we knew that we were caught off guard back March 17th. The distance learning was what it was. It was what it was. It was what it was not. It was very important for me to hear that there was 100% participation from every building, because we will be seeing this virtual distance stuff for a long time to come. So what I'm looking for is development around that technique. Now, what they did say, which was what I kind of liked, was that, and I could be wrong, but this is what I got from it. Darnell could chip in, that kids were going to be watching the lesson in real time. So I guess like almost like a Zoom or something. Like the teacher will be teaching, and there'd be people in the classroom, and they will be watching in real time. So where are the dry runs? So you know what I'm saying? Like, if that's gonna happen, I'm looking for dry runs to see how it's gonna work. Get some beta testers out in the community. We need to understand. We can't on September 3rd say, all right, Dr. Jackson, your kids have this class, and my kids hop on and it doesn't work, or nobody understands how to do a live virtual class. So I didn't get any of that last night. So I'm still really, really, I have a lot of questions. I need a lot of answers, and I'm still going to be asking these questions on Monday night. So
no, this thing is very vague. They're talking about kids may go to school 2 days a week. They'll split the classes up 2 days, and the 5th day the teacher will be preparing for the next week. So it's very vague on how that happens, how the whole busing happens around there. But even more concerning is that 5th day, these kids are not having access to any teachers. They are going to be given assignments that they're supposed to do on their own. And come on,
we got a real
come on. We know that doesn't happen. So right now, we already know that these kids are going to only see their teachers maybe 2 days a week, because when on the other 2 days, when the other kids are in this class, what they said to me, but they're not virtual at the school. They said someone else will be working with them. They haven't determined who that is.
They said assistants and paras. Now, and if that's the case, I feel that there needs to be more professional development with the paras who to me aren't treated fairly. So did the paras know that they were going to be covering these classrooms all the time like that? I think there needs to be development around that. There's so many questions, and it's 6 weeks out, and we have not acted on the most basic of these plans. All the plans have some basic characteristics that could have been worked on for months, but we're not, from what I got out of that, because it's 6 weeks out and we're waiting for someone to say what plan to use. We shouldn't be waiting like that. We still should be doing other things like the development they're doing for the teaching staff. Is that happening with the paras? I don't know. I didn't get that last night. That's one of my questions.
These antennas should already be, if we're going to install cameras in the building, they should have already been done.
Yeah,
wait 6 weeks out the door.
Yeah, we're behind the 8 ball here, and we're not ready to open up any school in New Haven until these questions are answered thoroughly and what is going to transfer.
But Dr.
Darnell,
Joyner,
webcams. Did you hear any purchases of webcams?
no. But Dr. Joyner, I mean Dr. Kimber, it's worse than that. If we're not prepared to open up schools, are we prepared to do distant learning? And we're not even prepared to do distant learning right either. So we're in a tough spot. I mean, it's too dangerous to open up the schools, but we're not prepared to do the distant learning that we need to do in order for our kids to learn. I mean,
that's
yeah.
where people are scared, Darnell, because
Yep.
a lot of people didn't have a last, few weeks of school. People just said, forget it. They got really frustrated. And
Yep.
we heard,
so what would you all, two questions, and we're ready to sound off here, man. Let me thank you all for joining. Two questions here. One, do you think there needs to be a stronger committee with doctors and nurses? You do know that Yale has their own public health school. Yale has their own nursing school. Shouldn't it be some conversation with them in reference to opening up the school? That's one question that I want to ask you.
I can answer that. I have a kind of an opinion around that. So I have an opinion that Yale likes to get into New Haven's public school system and use it as all kinds of finding out data and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know about that. I think that they do have a very robust cadre of medical professionals that are looking into everything. I think that piece will be okay, because right now, COVID-19 is hot and everyone's following those numbers, and I feel that piece will be okay. The piece that I feel that is going to be a problem is the regular school stuff, the learning, the teaching, the busing, the numbers in the classroom. That right there, I feel needs to be more of a focus. Like Darnell said, I kind of didn't know what they were talking about, these things on the roofs, but they're not up there. They're in class teaching. I didn't hear anything about webcams being purchased. How's that going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know how school's going to completely operate, and I just think that's really that's something that the parents and the public deserve, and we don't have that yet.
Dr. Kimber, the answer to your question is, when you make these plans in the dark, this is the result. The result is confusion. The result is not not having buy-in from all of the folks that need to buy into this, including the teachers and the parents and so on. And these Tiger Team meetings and all this other stuff was basically done in the dark. And we get a 90-page report at the end of it. And now we're supposed to not question it, because there's only 6 weeks left in the system, and they have to have their report to the commissioner by Friday. It's ridiculous. And
the teachers, they don't have a forum to address
right.
their concerns.
Right. And it's not leadership. I mean, leadership opens up the process, gets as many people involved as possible, and makes it as transparent as possible. So at the end of the process, you maybe have people that still disagreed with it, but at least they had some input and they had some voice, and they were able to follow the process. We didn't have that. We couldn't follow the process. We never got any real reports, especially never a written report on where they were in this process, until we got that 90-page document on Monday afternoon.
And how about if we didn't have that meeting? What if we didn't have
that Dr. Jackson asked for?
Yeah. So let me say this to you. Personally, I don't feel that we are ready to reopen, because there's so many questions out there. The Clergy Association is having a press conference on tomorrow, and we will be stating that this district is not ready to reopen for A, B, C, or D. The last time we talked, we said that one, there needed to be a conversation with church leaders in order to, if they wanted to use some of our churches for after school, some of our churches for social distancing. There are a number of Catholic buildings around town that is vacant. So it's a lot that needs to be done. And so let me thank you all. Darnell, let me get a final word from you, and then Dr. Jackson, and then we'll be ready to, say we appreciate you all.
No, yeah, I think I said everything I had to say. I'm concerned that we're not ready to open, but I'm also concerned that we're not ready to do social distant learning. So I'm not quite sure what the answer is. I hope the folks that get paid the big dollars, those administrators that are getting $250,000 a year, figure it out soon.
Dr. Jackson.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Darnell. I'm just on the fence. I don't feel that my questions were answered, and I think my questions represent a lot of the questions that are in the community. And I'm just looking for the people that get paid to do all this upper level stuff, like Darnell said. I hope that they're figuring it out. Because we're counting on them to figure it out. All we can do is, and I'm sorry, my dogs bark at everything.
Oh, your dog always barks at our meetings.
So are we liking leadership from the mayor and superintendent, or what?
I don't know. I think that
Yep.
COVID-19 is a huge monster. Nobody is comfortable, and this task that they have before them is just astronomical. I just don't know how.
We are lacking leadership. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I was president of the board, we would have had this meeting weeks, months ago. These issues would have been raised. We'd have more community forums around this issue. Absolutely, we're lacking leadership. The mayor, this is happening on his watch. He's responsible. At the end of the day, whether we have a superintendent or not, he is responsible for making sure it gets done.
He is.
And his suggestion that, well, I'm gonna send my kids to school so everybody else's kids should go to school is not the answer.
Listen, let me thank both of you all for joining me
Go
tonight.
Ahead, Darnell.
You know, I'm not gonna,
Darnell, thank you. Thank you for being live with Dr. Boise Kimber, taking a seat at the table. You all are great. I appreciate all that you do for the city and do for the Board of Ed. I just pray that they make the right decision in reopening our schools. Thank you so very much. You've been listening to Live with Dr. Boise Kimber, having a seat at the table. Peace.
Bye.